Hey guys, welcome back. So I'm out in the garage about to bring in my piece for this week's video. I am participating in the dupe challenge. So a bunch of us YouTubers are participating in this. I will link that down below. And we are duping a piece of furniture to look like a piece from a furniture store. I'm going to be duping this dresser here from CB2. I picked up one pretty similar at the Restore for only about $22, I believe. They had it marked down and the shape of it is pretty similar. I do need to make some tweaks to it, but I'm really excited to get into today's video. I will roll the footage from the thrift store now and then get into the makeover. I went to the Habitat for Humanity and I did pick up a dresser. They already marked it as sold in this clip, which was super exciting because I can't wait to make it over. This is it here. It was a super easy process to purchase this piece. Once I had paid for it, I drove my car around to the loading dock and they just put it right in the back of the car. Here is the before of this dresser. So yes, this dresser does not look anything like the piece I'm about to dupe, but it does have a very similar shape, so I'm going to work with that. It is solid wood. I believe it's a maple, so I'm really excited to flip this piece. I'm going to reconfigure the drawers here because I need to make them look similar to the piece I am working on, as well as the bottom. I'm going to try to remove that and add some new legs. So I have the piece flipped upside down here, and I'm just going to go ahead and start removing the original base to this piece. So to achieve the look of the CB2 dresser, I am going to be adding these little mid-century legs that I thrifted about a week ago, I believe. So I need to build a base for these to go into because this is just not sturdy enough. And if you see the CB2 piece, the legs are like about here. They're not like right on the edge or anything. Measure out some wood since the legs are inset a little. I need to create some supports. So I've marked out where I'm going to go ahead and make some pocket holes, and to do that I'm just going to go and use my Craig jig. So now that I have everything marked out, I'm just going to go lay my wood where I need to create my pocket holes and get those drilled. I'm just using some 1 1/4 inch Craig jig screws to screw this board in. And I have my bit that came with my Craig jig. This thing is super handy because it allows me to screw right in to the other piece of wood. Some of the damaged areas here and to cover those screw holes, I'm going to go ahead and use some LePage wood filler. I've never used this stuff before, so I'm super excited to test it out. It is their plastic wood made for wood fibers, so I've already mixed it up and I'm just going to be using my stir stick to just apply this because I want to add a pretty thick layer to make sure it covers everything. That way I can just sand it all down. And this was about $16, and if this stuff works good, it's so worth it because there's a lot in here, so it'll definitely last me a very long time. Now that the wood fill has dried on this piece, I'm going to go ahead and sand down the sides and the top to bare wood so I can do that nice black stain just like the CB2 piece. To do that, I am going to be using my DeWalt orbital sander with 120 grit sandpaper. So now I'm just figuring out where I want my hardware. I think I'm gonna go and use these handles from Amazon. They're currently silver, but I could spray them black to go with the piece and to really look more like the dupe. So I think I'm going to be placing them in the center here and then filling the original knob hole and the original handle holes. So I've kind of done one drawer as my guide and figured out where I want it. So now I'm just going to go ahead and do that for the rest. Once I had my first drawer drilled out and realized where I wanted to place my new hardware, I just went and used this painter's tape as a guide to mark where the next drawer holes need to go and so forth. I repeated this process for all of the drawers until every drawer had new hardware holes. To fill in the original hardware holes, I'm just using the same wood fill that I used earlier. It is the plastic wood. It worked pretty good for the sides of the dresser, so I'm pretty happy with it so far. Let's see how it holds up for the hardware holes. I find a lot of wood fill, it doesn't really fill properly, and I find it kind of shrinks or just doesn't hold up. And after you sand and paint and everything, you can still kind of see the hardware holes. So I'm hoping this stuff works a lot better. I've also heard and seen people use Bondo, so if you guys have used that before, definitely let me know down below, because I think I'm going to try that out next and see what one I like better. I am putting it on pretty thick because I don't want to have to do 2 coats of this. I'm hoping this 1 coat will work. And this stuff does have a bit of a smell to it. It kind of reminds me of nail polish remover. Now I'm going to repeat this whole process for the other side here. So I have all of the drawers wood filled and they are drying, but I did pick up this little trim detail here from Home Depot, measured out where I want to cut it, and I am going to cut this a little bit larger than what it is. That way I can cut off the excess and make sure everything is super flush, because I find if you just cut everything to size, some pieces aren't quite the size you need and are a little bit off, and then you're left with a gap. So this way, by cutting them larger, I'm able to just cut the excess off once everything dries. I'm going to be adding 4 pieces to each drawer, so 1 at the end, both ends, and then in a little bit. You could go ahead and add this look to the whole piece to really get that like fluted look, but these pieces are about $5, and I think I purchased 5, so I'm hoping that's enough to do 4 pieces on each. This could definitely get pretty pricey, and if you're looking to flip pieces for a profit, I'm not sure if it's really worth it. But I mean, you could test it out. You could spend the money and do a piece, and somebody might be willing to pay a lot for it, or you could just offer that as a custom option. That way you know you're getting paid for it and you're not going to lose any money on expensive trim. Two more pieces to go. All of our pieces are cut. I have them all here, and I'm gonna see how many I can put on the dresser, because this is a lot more than I thought I would have. So I'm excited because hopefully it'll look nicer with more detailed trim on the drawers. Thought I was gonna have enough to place 3 trim details on each side, but unfortunately I didn't, and I felt it would just look a bit off if I only did maybe the top drawer with more. So I just went with my original design and kept it simple. Bring these drawers out to the garage and just give them a quick sand before adding the trim detail. To glue my wooden pieces, now that I got the drawers sanded and these cut, I'm just using a foam brush. I have my Gorilla Glue in this container here, and I am just applying the glue to the back of the pieces and then pressing them on where I'd like them to go, leaving one edge flat and one edge that I am going to cut. That way I can get a nice pristine line, and I'm just repeating this process for all of the drawers. So now I have all my detail added on to the drawers, and again, it doesn't look identical to the fluted look on the CB2 piece, but I think I am getting more of that vibe, and once I have the legs on this piece and it's painted, I think it'll really resemble that, and I'm super excited. So once this dries, I can go ahead and cut the excess wood off right here. Now that I've let the pieces dry, I'm just taking a saw. As you can see, this is just an old saw that I had lying around in the garage. It's by Mastercraft. And I'm just going to use this to cut off the excess pieces. I'm just lining it up with a drawer and slicing away. So everything is now ready for primer. I'm not going to be priming the sides or the top because I'm going to be staining that. So the areas that I'm going to be painting, I am going to go ahead and prime with this shellac-based primer from Zinsser. And this is my favorite primer by far. The price of this has definitely gone up lately, but I still love it. To apply the primer, I'm just using a little dollar store brush. I like to use these for a little while and then I do just toss them. I am using a microfiber roller as well, and I am going to be doing 2 coats of primer on the areas I'm going to be painting. So I'm just going to brush the areas that it's a bit hard for the roller to get to, and then I'm going to roll everything. I did clean this before I primed it. I just used this cleaner here. This is one of my favorite cleaners. After I wipe the piece down with that, I do go ahead and wipe it again with some water to make sure I get all of the cleaner off and all of the dirt. So the primer has dried. I let it dry overnight. And now I'm just going to go ahead and take some 220 grit sandpaper and sand all of the primed areas, and then I will clean them and they'll be ready for paint. Before I paint this piece, there are a few gaps right here that you can kind of see. So to fill that, I'm just going to use this DAP paintable caulking just in a gun here. I'm just going to run it across the top. And then with a wet cloth, I'm going to wipe it back. To paint this piece, I'm going to be using Benjamin Moore in their advanced line of paint. This is in a semi-gloss finish, and this is the color White Opulence. I am using my favorite microfiber rollers. I will link these down below for you guys. And a 2-inch angled zebra brush. This is going to help me get into all of the detail on this piece and all of those little nooks and lines on the dresser, and as well as getting in between these little detailed pieces. So I'm going to be using the same process I did for the primer to be brushing in between all of the detailed pieces with my brush, and then I'm going to go over everything with my roller. When you're using this paint, it's super important to go over everything with a roller. This paint is really self-leveling. By rolling your paint, it really gives you that factory finish look. And this paint has some really good leveling properties in it. So after a few hours, you will start to notice it's super smooth and flat. The advanced line of paint is by far one of my favorite paints for flipping furniture. I usually like to have a super clean look, kind of like that factory look. So this paint really gives that for me. On all the painted areas, I ended up doing a total of 3 coats. To spray the hardware, I am going to go with gold just because I think it's going to complement the little detail on the legs and the overall piece better. The CB2 piece, I believe, has black hardware, but for this flip, I'm going to be doing gold. I'm just using my favorite spray paint from Home Hardware, and I'm just going to go ahead and spray a coat on the back and then flip these over and do the front. So now that the gold spray paint has dried, I'm going to go and use this semi-gloss clear top coat over top just to make sure my spray paint is going to hold up and these are going to last. The original legs I was going to put on this piece, the ones that I thrifted, I wasn't able to find just the brackets for sale, so I'm just going to use these ones. I picked this up at Home Hardware and it was about $25, and it comes with the legs and the brackets, so everything I need. And actually these legs look more like the original legs on the CB2 piece. They have like the little gold feet on them, which is super cute. So now I'm just going to attach these. The brackets do come with 2 options for you to screw your legs into, so you can really position it wherever you'd like. So I'm just going to measure out where I want to position my legs. So I'm just using the screws that came in the pack to attach my brackets to the wood that I added earlier in the video. Luckily this dresser is pretty light, so I can lift it and move it around myself. To stain the sides and the top of this piece, And I'm going to be using the color, I believe it's just called Black from Minwax. I am down to like the very last little bit in this can, so I'm hoping it's going to be enough. I do have quite a few spots I had to wood fill due to damage, so I'm hoping that I can cover it with the stain. If not, maybe I can use some paint to blend it. If it looks terrible, my last resort would be to just paint it black, but let's give this a shot. Top coat the stained areas. I'm gonna go ahead and use this top coat by Varathane. This is in a satin finish, and this is a water-based top coat. To apply the top coat, I'm just gonna be using a foam brush. Before I go ahead and share the full makeover with you guys, I hope you really enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you think of this piece down below in the comments. Did I complete the challenge, or is it too far off from the original CB2 piece? I'd love to hear your guys' input down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not already. I did want to say one thing. Although these legs look super pretty and they really do suit the style of the piece and what I was going for, just because this dresser is a little bit top heavy, they don't fully support it. I'm not too happy with the way it's sitting. I think I'm going to go ahead and replace them, but if you are interested to see what I do with that, make sure to head over to our Instagram, because I will be sharing whatever I change these out, or if I'm able to work with these. I think I might just need a few more supports. So if you're interested in checking that out, make sure you head over to our Instagram account. But let's get to the makeover.